Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever found yourself really searching for purpose, that clear path forward, maybe especially when you're facing those big life
Oh,
decisions?
absolutely. It's something everyone grapples with, isn't it?
It really is. And sometimes, the most profound answers, they seem to pop up from the most unexpected places. Like imagine getting wisdom from thousands of letters, heartfelt letters from a whole nation's youth.
Well, that's exactly where we're headed today. This deep dive, it's all about Forge Your Future, a spiritual guide for youth. A really unique book, very personal, from Dr. A.P.J. Abdul Kalam, came out in 2014.
Dr. Kalam. Yeah, I know him, of course, as India's people's president. So
hmm
loved. It's pretty incredible to think of a leader connecting like that so personally.
hmm
And this book, from what I understand, it literally grew out of him answering thousands of letters, mostly from students, young professionals. And he's blending what? Wisdom, science, faith, patriotism, all in these reflections.
Exactly. It's really less like a formal textbook and much more like a direct conversation, guiding hand almost.
Okay.
So our mission here with this deep dive is really to give you a shortcut to the core, the most impactful stuff from Kalam's work. We want to explore how this book works as, well, both a roadmap for motivation and maybe an honest mirror, too.
Helping you figure out what it really means to forge your future and, importantly, contribute something meaningful.
That's the heart of it.
Okay, so let's jump right into what feels like, I guess, the bedrock of his whole philosophy, the purpose of life. Kalam famously said, dream, dream, dream. Dreams transform into thoughts, and thoughts result in action. It sounds, well, almost poetic, but there's a real practicality there, isn't there?
Absolutely. That wasn't just a catchy phrase for him. Life, for Kalam, was never just about, getting by. Survival wasn't the goal.
Right.
It was fundamentally about contributing something real, something meaningful to humanity. He really stressed that clarity of purpose is the first step toward achieving greatness. And he didn't just say it, he pointed to examples. People like Einstein, whose dreams literally reshaped how we see the universe, or Swami Vivekananda, whose vision had such a massive impact on India.
So it's not just about having some big dream, but really understanding the why behind it and then the action it takes.
Precisely.
It almost feels like he's kind of flipping the script on us. Instead of asking, what can I get from the world? He's pushing us to ask, what can I give? That shift. How does thinking like a giver change things?
It's a huge shift, a transformative question, really. And flowing right from that sense of purpose, Ilham had this really deep conviction about knowledge. He saw it as, well, sacred.
Sacred. Okay. And not just piling up facts, right?
Definitely not. He
Yeah.
wasn't a fan of just rote learning, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He really pushed for education, to spark creativity, to build problem-solving skills,
Yeah.
go beyond just memorizing stuff.
Yeah, he actively encouraged a love for science, books, and experimentation. I really like his very direct advice, too. Read at least one book every month. It will make you taller in spirit.
It's practical, isn't it? But also, you can tell it's rooted in his own life. His background, that hard work and discipline as a student, it clearly shaped his scientific mind. He lived it.
Mm-hmm.
And the underlying message is pretty powerful. Knowledge, when you really embrace it, it can set you free. But, and this is the important part, with that freedom comes a responsibility.
Responsibility to use it for good, to actually apply what you learn.
Exactly. Apply it.
Okay. But life, as we know, it's not always smooth sailing. Setbacks happen. And what I find really powerful is Kalam's view on that, on failure. He often told stories, didn't he, about students facing rejection, reminding them failure is not the end, but a bend in the road.
Yeah, that really speaks to his own resilience. He was quite open about his own disappointments, like the big one, the failure of India's first experimental satellite launch vehicle, the SLV-3.
Oh, right, the SLV-3 failure.
He didn't hide that pain. Instead, he systematically turned it into learning. He actually wrote quite powerfully, "My message to you is this: stand up for what you believe in, even if you're standing alone."
Wow. That takes courage. Standing alone, it challenges you to keep going, even when it feels like everything's against you.
It does.
So if we sort of reframe what he's saying, it's like seeing every stumble not as hitting a wall, but maybe as useful data, a checkpoint. Maybe think about a recent failure in your own life. What if you saw it as fuel for whatever's next?
That's a really insightful way to put it. Fuel. And building on that, on purpose and resilience, His idea of patriotism was also, well, it was bigger than usual, not
Yeah.
just flags and anthems.
Right. Not just the symbolic stuff. For him, patriotism meant actually serving the nation. How?
Yes.
Through honesty, innovation, empathy.
Exactly. He famously encouraged young people not to just chase higher salaries abroad, but to, dedicate their skills to building things within India.
Stay and contribute.
Yeah. He had this vision of inclusive development where progress in rural areas and cities would happen together,
Yep.
lifting everyone up.
So everyone benefits.
And it all leads to his very direct challenge. The best way to change India is to become the change. Be the light.
Be the light. It suggests that your own success, even small-scale success, should somehow aim to lift others too, contribute to that bigger picture.
Yes, building a shared future, not just, your own personal success story.
That idea of a shared future, it connects really nicely to another thing. His deep respect for questions, any questions.
Oh, definitely.
What struck me was how he'd engage with anything. Even kids asking really deep philosophical stuff about God or life after death or injustice, the meaning of it all. He never brushed them off, did he?
Never. He'd answer with science if that fit, or faith if that was needed, or often, a mix of both. There's a great example. A young girl asked him, "Why do bad people succeed?"
That's a tough one for a kid to ask. What did he say?
His answer wasn't simple. He said something like, "They may succeed temporarily, but true success lies in peace, which only good actions bring. Lasting success versus temporary gain."
Wow, that makes you think. How often do we maybe silence our own questions, thinking they're silly or too big or...
Yeah, when maybe they're the very things that could lead to a breakthrough. He called them the seeds of wisdom.
Seeds of wisdom. I like that. And speaking of wisdom, it's fascinating how Kalam, the scientist, talked about God. It wasn't in a rigid, ritualistic way.
Not at all. His idea of God felt more like the universal spirit. Truth, compassion, wonder, that sort of thing.
Right.
And what was really unique was how he could draw from the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Bible,
Yeah.
just comfortably weaving them together.
Yeah.
It showed his conviction that faith and science are not enemies, but partners.
That's a pretty radical idea for a lot of people, bringing those two together.
It is. He put it beautifully. Spirituality enhances science, and science purifies spirituality.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? How could cultivating maybe a more balanced mind help you find harmony between things in your life that seem opposed?
Finding deeper insights instead of just seeing conflict. Yeah.
And ultimately, everything we've talked about, it kind of builds toward this really powerful call to action from Kalam. Create, contribute, construct.
Right. He wanted every young person to see themselves as a builder, whether you're building, technology or actual bridges or social harmony or just new ideas.
Be a builder.
Mm.
And he was really firm that we shouldn't waste our creative energy on, complaining or being cynical.
No cynicism, just build.
His advice was so direct. Work with integrity, and success will chase you. Simple as that.
Integrity first, success follows. He even had that specific vision, didn't he, for India 2020, covering everything from connecting villages and cities, renewable energy, getting rid of corruption, all driven by youth innovation.
Yeah, it lays out a really clear link, doesn't it, between doing work you can be proud of with integrity and achieving success, not just for yourself, but for everyone. It's a blueprint, really.
So when you boil it all down, Forge Your Future carries this incredible message of hope, just infinite hope. It doesn't matter where you come from, your background, whether you're a dropout, top student from a tiny village, or a big city slum. Dr. Kalam genuinely seemed to believe, as he put it, you have the light within you to shape your destiny.
It's true. And the book, it doesn't feel preachy. It feels more like having a wise friend or a patient mentor, maybe even like a father figure, just guiding you through life's ups and downs.
Yeah, not just giving answers, but helping you find them yourself.
Exactly, inspiring you to look within.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into Dr. Kalam's, his whole approach, life, knowledge, spirituality, all woven together, here's something to think about. What parts of your own life, maybe unexpected areas, might hold deeper wisdom, more potential if you looked at them differently? If you approach them with that same mix Kalam had, scientific curiosity, spiritual openness, and just being willing to question everything, even your own assumptions.
Right.
Think about how that active search for understanding, how that questioning itself, maybe that's the real act of forging your future.